Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight, from Philadelphia to San Francisco to college campuses everywhere, suddenly the American pro-life movement, and not just the pro-life movement, but really anybody who has even the mildest qualms about legal abortion, is under attack from the intolerant left, the newly energized and newly radical left. We have footage of the latest attack. It comes from the University of North Carolina. We'll show it to you just ahead. But first tonight, in related matters, one of the most bewildering things to watch over the past couple of years has been the steady migration of the American left from concern about civil liberties to an embrace of authoritarianism. It wasn't that long ago that liberals worried about powerful government agencies that might be stepping on somebody's rights. They had hearings on the subject. They don't anymore. They don't worry about it anymore. They applaud it instead. The left now controls government agencies. They understand that a permanent bureaucracy is a powerful tool of social control, and they know what's on their side. And that's why CNN is suddenly so invested in promoting creepy former bureaucrats like Clapper and Comey and Brennan. Why are they on the tube all the time? That's why. It's also why the news media became absolutely hysterical when Trump pointed out that the previous administration had spied on his presidential campaign, which they absolutely did. The press could not admit that. They had to be absolutely certain that you would never believe it.
President Trump has a new favorite word, and every time he uses it, he is lying. And that is the word spy.
His baseless claims of spies.
This is the President of the United States telling people don't believe what this federal government is doing. And that has very, very dangerous consequences.
The notion that somehow the FBI planted someone inside the campaign to spy on the campaign is just not true.
There's absolutely no evidence there was a spy.
He wants you to believe that his campaign was spied on, and it's one of the worst things that we've ever seen from government.
Yeah, it's the governor's brother. They were all lying. The people who should have been telling you the truth were hiding the truth. They were acting as willing tools to the surveillance state. They should be ashamed of themselves. They're, of course, not. Just last night, CNN held a town hall starring former FBI Director Jim Comey. It was a pure whitewash. Comey should have paid the network for shilling for him. Spying, Comey said? What an ugly word. Only the Russians spy on people. The FBI doesn't spy. It investigates.
The New York Times reported that the FBI sent an investigator posing as an assistant to meet with a Trump aide, George Papadopoulos, in 2016. Does that qualify as spying?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on a particular investigative step because that's for the Bureau to do, and I'm not in the government any longer. But the FBI doesn't spy to begin with. The FBI investigates.
The FBI investigates. Okay, Jim. And yet moments later, after telling us, I'm not going to comment on current operations, Comey changes his mind. He said it was improper to comment specifically, but then he did. Why? Because he had to explain that investigating presidential campaigns is the most common thing in the world. Totally normal, in his words.
But sending an investigator undercover to meet with somebody who is connected to the campaign, they claimed he was later on just a coffee boy. That is an extreme step, no?
No, it's a reasonable. That was the guy, Papadopoulos, who was the subject of the information we got from the Australians, that he had talked to the Russians.
Did you sign off on the investigator going?
I don't remember talking about that particular step with my team. I knew they were trying to see if they could check it out. That's a totally normal step. See if you can get somebody close to the person and see if they'll confirm what we heard from the Australians.
Yeah, I don't know if I had anything to do with it, but it would be a totally normal step. Really, it would be bizarre if you didn't send secret agents to lie to staffers on a rival presidential campaign to say they would spill information while keeping the whole thing from their boss. It's totally normal. Does Comey think anyone believes that? Does he believe that? Of course he doesn't believe it. The Soviet Union didn't expect people to believe its propaganda, just to submit to it. Comey's from that school. Everyone knows it's terrifying that the Obama people sent spies on their political opponents. Jim Comey says it's normal, and CNN backs him up. So be quiet. If you don't agree with that, you're the enemy.
They start to make little compromises to stay on the team, echo his words, use the term spying, talk about collusion, or just be silent, thinking that's what I need to do to survive. And in the process, he has eaten their soul. They're lost.
So ignore the obvious. Agree with me, or you have no soul. Who talks like that? The sort of person who will say or do absolutely anything for power. A scary person talks like that. Not long ago, Jim Comey was one of the most powerful men in the world. He could investigate you or anyone else at will. He could ruin lives if he wanted, and sometimes he did. How did a person like that ascend to a position of such authority in our government? What kind of system would promote a man like that? What kind of media would cover for him? Those are the questions we ought to be asking tonight. If there was one Jim Comey in the federal government, that means there are probably many others, and that should concern us.